Ooh.
Hey, we're live. Good morning, everybody. Great to be back with you today. Today's workshop is on presenting a plan to sustainability. I think that's supposed to say present a path to sustainability. My bad. But we're progressing forward. The last few workshops have been on how to get a grant. But a grant is just the first step towards starting your business. Grants are not a business model. It's not a good long-term sustainability plan for your business. You need a business model. So today we're going to be workshopping the business model canvas. We've got Kemp here, fellow Developer DAO operator. We're going to be talking about the Web3 virtual event starter kit, which is a new startup project in Developer DAO. We're going to be workshopping the business model canvas for that brand new business coming out of Developer DAO. So we got a really fun workshop planned for you today. Thanks for joining. So starting out, I just want you to know that you don't need to take notes. This presentation is being recorded, and we will also share the slide deck. My colleague, collaborator, partner in crime, Wickest, is behind the scenes running the technology, managing the chat, making sure that you're all comfortable and have what you need. Same here, got us all set up for success here today. So thank you so much, Wickest. If you need anything, drop it in the chat. We'll be taking questions throughout the presentation, throughout the workshop. We got a few other workshops coming up. Next week, we'll be workshopping a budget. So present a budget for your Web3 project next Wednesday, same time, same place. And after that, we'll be workshopping elevator pitches on the 14th of December, same time, same place. So a few other housekeeping items. Wickest and I host fundraising office hours every Monday and Friday, 2 p.m. UTC and Voice Channel 1 in the Developer DAO Discord server. You can drop in, talk about funders that might be interested in your project. At this point, we've cultivated relationships with 25 or 30 Web3 funders, so we can talk about who might want to fund your project and hook you up with a connection. You can also come in and talk about a grant proposal that you're working on. We can look at it, give you feedback. After today's workshop, if you want to start working on a sustainability plan, business model canvas for your project, come in and share it with us. We'd love to give you feedback on it. Or just come in and hang out, hear what other folks are doing, maybe get some inspiration from other builders in Developer DAO. Love to see you there. Mondays and Fridays, 2 p.m. UTC and Voice Channel 1. Anytime, asynchronously. You can also reach us in the Fundraising General part of the Developer DAO Discord server. There's a channel there dedicated to fundraising. You can post questions, you can provide updates, celebrate wins when you get that grant that you've been working on. Love to see you there as well. And we have another async guide, a wiki that we built in Notion, the Developer DAO Fundraising Guide, where we answer every question we've ever gotten about fundraising. We provide links to resources. Really want that to be a resource that Developer DAO members can use to get money to build your dreams into reality. So that's all our housekeeping. Now we'll be turning to today's workshop. Looks like we don't have any questions yet. But if you do have any questions, please post them in the chat. So our objective for today is to be able to present information to convince a funder that your Web3 project is sustainable. A lot of Web3 funders are willing to make grants to help you get to an MVP or proof of concept. But they're making an investment in your project, and they want to know that what is the long-term plan here? What's the business model? How are you going to sustain this over the long run? Are you going to just keep coming back to them for money? If they don't continue to provide you grants, are you going to be able to continue with the project? So we have a canvas to work from, template, which will help you be able to answer a lot of questions about your sustainability plan. A grant is not a business model. You need a sustainability plan because, as we say, a grant will help you get started, but it's not going to sustain you over the long run. So a grant can help you kind of get a runway to getting your business model going, getting your flywheel going. But you do actually need a business model to be able to sustain your project over the long run. Same with venture capital. It's not a business model. It's an infusion of cash. It's some capital to help you get going, but it's not a long-term strategy for success. You need to earn a living from your work. Maybe you say, I'll just keep working on this until it's successful. But what's the plan to actually make this successful and sustainable? You need to earn a living at some point, or else you're not going to be able to sustain yourself in building this project and making it great and successful long term. And also, your work should align with your lifestyle. It's kind of cliche to say do what you love, but there's just, it's such a common phenomenon that you're excited about a project, and you start working on it 1 month, 3 months, maybe even 6 months, but at some point, the likelihood of burnout becomes pretty high if you keep working on something and there's no path to sustainability. There's no business model. You're not getting any revenue to help you live the kind of life you want to live, help you be able to take breaks, go on vacation. You can't just work around the clock all the time. What you're working on should align with your values and it should align with your lifestyle. So that's part of the business model canvas that we'll be workshopping today. Again, please don't hesitate to ask questions. We've just got maybe 5 more minutes of presentation here, and then we'll be diving into the workshop with Kemp. But at any point, we got the chat here on the other screen. We'll answer any questions that you guys have. So, business model canvas is an internal planning document. This isn't something that you're going to send to funders. It's something that you just have for yourself. It's always in draft mode. You're always iterating on it. This thing is never done. Today we'll be creating one for the Web3 virtual event starter kit, but then I'm sure as Kemp talks to potential customers and clients, and as he takes the steps towards building the product itself, you continue to learn things and you go back to the business model canvas and you want to make some changes. And so this should be seen as it's a conversation. It's ongoing. It's never complete. You draft it, you feel good about it, you come back to it in a few weeks, you're always tweaking it. It's a good conversation piece to use to seek feedback from peers and coaches and mentors. It's an awesome artifact to be able to get the ideas out of your head and onto paper, and then show them to people and get feedback, from your support network. And it is a good source of content for your grant applications and pitches to funders. I wouldn't actually share it with funders, not the document itself, but the ideas on this document are great to include in your conversations with funders. So here is the canvas that we'll be working from. There's 1,000 iterations of this. Sorry, I see some questions in the chat. Web3 virtual event starter kit. Yeah, maybe we'll be workshopping that name over the weeks ahead. It is a mouthful. Would you share a business model canvas to funders, or is it primarily a thought experiment planning doc for the team? Yeah, I'd say it's a planning doc for the team. Wouldn't share this exact thing with a funder because it's never done. And probably when you're talking to a funder about it, you're going to realize that you want to change something. And so presenting it as a static document makes it seem like it's finished. But this thing should never be finished. Think of it as like a whiteboard, in your office that you're always taking a sticky note off, putting a new sticky note on, always working on it. So yeah, back to the canvas that we'll be working from. There's 1,000 versions of this on the internet. FigJam even has one. They have a template. You don't have to create all these boxes yourself. You can just use theirs. This is the one that I like though. These are the questions that I've found to be most important to answer when I have a project or when I'm coaching or mentoring a team that has a project idea. Just to really pressure test it. How serious are you guys about this? How feasible is this? Can you really pull this off? Does it really make sense? Is there really a market here? I think these are the best questions to ask. So we'll go through the questions and then we'll bring Kemp on and we'll workshop it with the startup project in Developer DAO. So first, we got to start with a problem. We always got to start with a problem. Just like in a grant application, that's the first piece of your grant proposal, is presenting the problem that you want to solve. And then, of course, logically follows that we talk about the solution, got the problem, how are we going to solve it? Customers, we have to stay focused on the customers. Notice that this box is bigger than the solution. We need to really think critically about who we want to serve. Among that whole universe of people that we want to serve, who are the most important people? Who do we need to prioritize? When you're first getting started, when you need to start gaining traction, who are going to be your key customers that help you start to gain that traction? And then, of course, what are their defining qualities? What, you might hear this termed as demographic data and psychographic data, like how old are they? Where do they live? How do they spend their time? What do they think about? What do they worry about? What are their values? It's important to get inside your customer's head. The best way to do this is to talk to them. So that, this is one part of the business model canvas that you really should be pushing yourself to always be iterating on, always talking to customers. Every time you have a new version of your product, get it in front of customers, get their feedback. Would you use this? Would you pay for it? Really pressure testing what your customers want. I think this is probably the most important part of the whole canvas. Channels is closely related to customers. How do they want to be reached? Where are they? And how do they find you? These are 3 important questions to ask about how you connect with your customers. Those questions are pretty self-explanatory, and we'll get into it when we're workshopping this with Kemp. Revenue. What are you selling? All right, now we're starting to talk about the business model. What are you selling and how much does it cost? Again, you'll always be iterating on this. The first time you fill this out, you're just gonna be guessing how much you can charge for your product. You really won't know how much you can charge until you start trying to sell it and see what people are willing to pay. So this is another thing that you always want to be coming back to. Costs, of course, it's probably fairly easy to think up front about what activities you need to build this, what the costs will be to be able to build it and sustain it. So lay them out there, be realistic. This is a reality check. How much time and energy and money do you need to build this product until the point where you'll be able to start gaining revenue from it? And that cost, the cost box will help you understand how much money do you need to raise from grants or maybe from VC funding, or how much money do you need to put in from your own bank account to be able to give yourself a runway to the point where you actually have a minimum viable product that you can try to start selling to people. Key metrics, how will you know if you've been successful? This is a question that you're always going to get from funders or from VCs. So you want to front run that. You want to think about it yourself. What does it mean to be successful, and how will you measure that? This is a fun one. Differentiators, both differentiating the solution and also differentiating your team. So, what's different or unique about your solution? Why does this matter? There's probably already 1,000 products like this on the market. Why? Who cares about yours? What's different or unique about it? And then, you know, same with your team. What separates you from the competition? Why do you think that you have the ability to succeed in the marketplace where others can't, or maybe where others have, but there's also space for you? So what unfair advantages do you have over the competition? Again, when you're talking to funders, this is going to be a key part of your pitch. So you want to have your talking points down before you get to that stage. And personal fit. So we'll examine the softer side of being a founder and trying to build a startup product. Does it feel like you? Is this the kind of customer that you want to interact with? Is this the kind of lifestyle you want to have? Is this the kind of responsibility that you want on your shoulders? Really think about that. Maybe it's a cool idea, but the work that it's going to take to pull this off, it just doesn't align with where you are in your life right now. And that's fine. But before you spend weeks or months trying to build it and figuring that out and burning out on it, really push yourself to think about, is this a good personal fit for me? And then the last piece is the elevator pitch. And I really want to challenge you to pitch your business in 6 words or less. Making it just as concise as possible. Being able to communicate it clearly and concisely means that you really understand the problem, the solution, the customers, the differentiators, why this matters, why this is needed. If it takes you several sentences to explain it, then that just means that you are still trying to figure it out. If you're able to sum it all up in a compelling pitch in 6 words, that means you really understand what you're doing, and you really feel good about it, what you're trying to do here. All right. So, see some fun activity in the chat, but I don't see any new questions. So, Kemp, come on in and let's workshop this canvas for the Web3 virtual event starter kit.
Hey, Chuck.
What's up?
What's up? I'm good, man. Thank you.
What's up? All right, Kemp, I got a blank one here for you. Got some sticky notes. Are you in the Fig Jam? Do you want me to write?
I am in it, but I've only got view access at the moment. I did request it, so you probably have an email or something. Or yeah, if you hit share, I think you can just give me direct edit access.
Okay. There we go.
That's me. Oh.
Shoot. Sorry, guys.
You might have to drive, mate.
Yep. All right. No worries. Okay. So, Kemp, what is the problem that you're trying to solve with the web virtual starter kit?
Yeah, it's a big question. I think there's a few. So there's lots of tooling out there, but there's very limited tooling, sort of like native Web3 tooling for running virtual events. There's various different platforms you can do it, like stream to YouTube, use different tools like around that as well. But there's nothing really out there, or there's limited tooling out there that can provide like a Web3 native experience. And then I think sort of coupled with that, the user experience in Web3 is generally pretty cumbersome. at a high level, and especially for new users into the space. So one of the great powers of events, I think, is helping gain adoption, right? Like bringing people into the ecosystem. But without a native event experience, a native Web3 event experience, like you're kind of just telling people about Web3 rather than like using the experience so they can actually experience it themselves. And even when people are using sort of Web3 functionality within events, for new users, that's normally particularly cumbersome, right? Like you've got to figure out how to self-custody a wallet. And if you don't do it correctly, you're probably going to get wrecked a few weeks later when you connect to something that you don't mean to. And then that ruins your whole experience around Web3. And like if you were doing a native event using Web3 tooling, like you would want that to be really easy and user-friendly for anyone, regardless of how much they do or don't know about or their existing knowledge or exposure in Web3 and kind of like the tooling that's used.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, I reckon relying on a lot of these centralized tools comes with it some like inherent costs. So costs to users in terms of like privacy costs, like they're being tracked by all of these tools, that the ones that we use for free. This is their business model. And if you're using some of the paid services, they're prohibitively expensive. Like trying to do live streams on anything but YouTube is really quite expensive.
Oh, so yeah, you've experienced this. You really understand the problem from a lot of different angles. Which of these do you feel is like the most painful problem?
It's a really good question. I think it is the kind of like the grouped problem of like the Web3 UX still being very cumbersome. And like if you're trying to onboard millions of people, their first experience in onboarding, say that it's going to an event and they've got to figure out how to self-custody a wallet, for example, in order to like lean into that experience, I would say is probably the primary one. It just doesn't feel like that's a scalable experience for people. And the more tooling that can be created that acknowledges that and like innovates around it, I think the better it will be for the whole ecosystem.
Yeah. That's a really great point. Web3 events, if they're on, it's sort of an echo chamber of like Web3 people already. And like you said, events are such a great way to build community and bring more people in. But it could feel really intimidating to say like, we're hosting an event in the metaverse. And if you're not like, already adept at that, you're like, well, I'm not going to that event. That's going to be, too hard, too much effort.
Yeah, totally. And like get your NFT ticket. And like, if you don't have a wallet, like I would love to see the numbers of the drop off of people that might go to something like that and then just immediately lose interest because they've got to do that, which is really
bad. Yeah. Cool. I love the mission here. All right, so let's turn to the solution then. What solution are you proposing for these problems?
Yeah, so we're lucky in that there's been a lot of innovation in this space by Vercel. So Vercel have a virtual event starter kit which they use to run their Next.js conf, and the experience is amazing. They've got some really interesting features that we can use around ticket generation and just like the general event experience as well. So that is the basis of what we want to build. And we want to evolve and innovate on top of the experience that they've created to introduce some native Web3 features to that experience without harming the user journey, right? So the solution that we're proposing is switching out their authentication to use wallet-based authentication. So easy for people that already have wallets, but then we will use a non-custodial wallet provider. So you can do like a one-click wallet creation where you don't have to worry about everything that we spoke about a few minutes ago. So that would probably be something like Magic Link, Web3Auth, or Biconomy. We'll then be programmatically generating tickets, which is already in Vercel's kit, but we'll be customizing that ticket that's created, and then when it's created, we'll be auto minting it as an NFT to either the wallet that the person signed in with or the wallet that they've just created. And we'll be using a gas relayer contract to make sure they don't have to pay. Because again, that's a really crappy experience, right? Like if not only do they have to create a wallet, but they have to put some money on an exchange and then they have to send it to their wallet and they'll probably lose it the first time they do it. So it's like, if we can, how can we use these features to stop that? So yeah, the NFT tickets, they'll get auto minted in the same flow to their wallet, and then that will provide token gated access to the event. So as long as their wallet's created, they can get in and see the event. And then to solve the bit around video streaming, we are looking at working with LivePeer to replace the streaming functionality. And LivePeer is super interesting in terms of like a solution that can get away from like the data harvesting privacy concerns that we get with like YouTube and whatnot. But there's also some really interesting functionality that they have around token gating at the stream level, which we'll be integrating. And also it's really cost effective. So that's like the bulk of the solution at a high level. It's how can we take the innovations from Vercel anyway and have that good starting point and like just evolve and introduce those Web3 tools so people can still enjoy that really smooth user experience, but also actually experience the benefits of Web3 by being able to have that sort of privacy-friendly identity, the NFT ticket, excuse me, and yeah, just a good experience that includes those Web3 features.
Cool. So this is being built for people who have never used Web3 before to be able to attend an event with Web3 native technology.
Yeah, exactly. But they're like the people if we can solve for them, then like I think it solves for everyone, because people that have the experience will be fine. That's like the high level idea.
Will the benefits of Web3 be visible? Will they feel it, or do you want it to kind of be hidden and it's just a virtual event, and you know it's inherently better because it's using Web3 technology, but they would just experience it like any other virtual event they've been to?
Yes, it's a really good question. So the goal is for them to like not really need to care that they're using Web3 tools, right? But then try and introduce benefits of using those tools to those people as part of the experience. So other things we might do is automatically issue POAPs when people will attend different streams. Once they're connected to the stream, we can get their wallet address and then send them a POAP. And there's some cool stuff around there that we can do with partners. So like the partner might have like a branded POAP that they can send, and then that person's got a collectible. Then I guess it's making me think quite a lot. There's probably some like next order things that we might want to do to get them to realize that value. So make it very apparent that these POAPs are being given and show them how to go and look at them. So yeah, like they shouldn't really know or have to care that there's Web3 tools there. And that's one challenge. And then it's our job to see how else can we improve the experience because those tools are there without harming the user journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could see how maybe getting them in the door, they never really feel like it's different from any other virtual event they've been to. It's intuitive, it's easy, the UX is great, but then maybe at the end of or maybe there's like a follow-up where you're like, yo, by the way, you got all this stuff because this is Web3, and here's all these things you can do with it. And here's why this event was different and better than any other event you've been to.
Yeah, definitely. Like, 'cause once you've got like the wallet addresses, there's and a way to communicate with people. There's a lot. I think there's a lot of things you could potentially do that you wouldn't be able to do without them having a wallet, basically. So maybe things can get airdropped to them. Maybe there's like follow-on experiences. So this is really good for like a thought experiment. Like maybe the partner who was doing the stream issues a POAP, and then anyone who holds that POAP can go get like discounted merch on their store, or maybe they get discounted access to the product that they're selling. The more you're making my brain think, I think there's a lot of potentially cool things that you could do.
I love that partner idea.
Yeah.
Like sponsor this event, and afterwards we'll help you airdrop a sample or a code or a discount to all the attendees, and then after you get to hit up the attendees and with maybe like a Loom video of like, here's how you use your wallet and take advantage of this free benefit that you didn't even know you were going to get. And then they get to use their wallet and experience their first airdrop, and now they're Web3 pilled.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe like so we're planning to use it for the next Web3Con, which is obviously very closely tied to Developer DAO. So like maybe there's some kind of airdrop that the DAO does to people who've attended. Like I think there's some super cool ways that we could like next steps in that journey, like outside of the actual product, that could make the product itself way more valuable. These are really interesting ideas.
Yeah, cool. That's a fun conversation. This is the point. Like every time you and anyone who's watching this workshop, anytime you approach the business model canvas, it should make you think about new things and take this sticky off, put a new one on. Yeah, it's the point. It's an ongoing dialogue. So I love that you don't have everything figured out. Let me double check on the prompts for customers, because this is important. All right. So who do you serve? Who are the most important folks in that group, and what are their defining qualities? Who do you want to serve first and foremost?
So I think the two highest level are like event organizers and event attendees. And then I think there's like subcategories to those as well.
Organizers.
So the subcategories to event organizers would be like event organizers who are technically adept and those that are not. So we plan to release this as a public good, right? So people can deploy it themselves. But some people either won't have the knowledge or would rather just pay someone else to run it for them, right? So solve for both those types of use cases. And then for event attendees, we've got, come on, brain. Like people existing in Web3 and people new to Web3, I think would be the clearest breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then like maybe like the customers of our customers. I don't know if they're worth including, like the people that might sponsor an event or speak in an event.
Let me push back on that one a little bit. Customers is like, who are you selling to?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the reason I'm pushing back is that like when you're starting a business, you just got to focus on like what you're selling and who will buy it. And so to me, it kind of feels like event attendees and like event presenters or like workshop hosts are part of the product.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, the clearest, probably going back thousands of years, like the clearest business model for events is sponsors. So, I mean, you can charge people to attend if it's that compelling, but generally it's going to be the the sponsors, but I guess
So
those,
like,
but you didn't even say sponsors. You said event organizers. So event organizers will pay you for this software, and then they'll make money from sponsors.
yeah.
So yeah, let's unpack this a little bit. Who are your most important customers of all the groups you mentioned?
Definitely the event organizers, I think, right? Because if it doesn't serve organizers, then we won't have attendees, there won't be sponsors, there won't be anything, right? So they
Yeah.
feel like the most important customer, but maybe not the most important user, if that makes sense. Like we would probably want to optimize the experience way more for the attendees, even if it means the event, but it needs to be good enough for the event organizers so they can use it, right? And we may introduce like paid ticketing as well, and maybe like there's different business models around that. Now I come to think of it, where rather like say if a non-technical event organizer, we have a SaaS platform they can run the event on, but there's a cost to that they pay. Like maybe there's an alternative way of doing that where we give them all the infrastructure for free and they charge something for the tickets, and then we take some commission on that, like a ticket master or something like that.
Cool. And maybe even maybe there's even like a smart contract royalty play here. Like if it's a really hot ticket and there's like a resale market, maybe there's even a way for you to benefit from that.
Ooh, that's very interesting. Yeah, that's super interesting. Like a royalty at the contract level. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna be let's just focus on event organizers for now, because it seems like you're building a platform for event organizers, and they need to get sponsors, they need to get attendees, they need to figure out ticket sales and how to make their event profitable, but they're gonna or your business is based on event organizers using your product. So let's just focus on them for the purpose of the next few parts of this. And of course, you can always go back to this. I'll figure out how to make you an editor in FigJam so that you can actually use this thing. Because this is real. I mean, you are actually building this. This isn't just a hypothetical. Okay, so channels. Where are event organizers? How do you reach them?
Good question. So it is a B2B market. Like for us, I think the reality is looking at the people that are running existing events and approaching them with the solution. I think over time, those people might begin to come to us organically. But I think in order for us to make this successful, will require some manual effort to engage with existing event organizers and to get them to move over to the platform. We're quite lucky that we have Web3Con internally in the DAO to like dog food this. So hopefully we can make that successful enough where it gets some attention. And I suspect most of that attention would be on Twitter. Crypto Twitter is like where we all live and exist most of the time, right? That and Discord. But I would suspect that it will be a lot manual. Hopefully we'll get good publicity out of the event, and then converting event attendees into customers as well, I think, is probably the other one. So if like someone comes to the event who happens to run events, if they like the experience enough, then they will use the product as well, hopefully, right? So that's
a good call. Yeah, for sure. Like the first time I went to an event that I found on Eventbrite, then I was like, oh, I can use Eventbrite for my events. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's a really good call. So your attendees can become customers.
Mhm.
Cool. But okay, let me make sure we covered all the prompts here. Do. How do they want to be reached? Where are they already? How do they find you? So you talked about they're probably not going to find you at first. You need to find them. They're all hanging out on crypto Twitter. And in terms of how they want to be reached, it's what do you think? Is it DMs? Is it Discord, email, Telegram, Lens, Farcaster? Like,
Some crazy mishmash of all of the above, probably. But I think my experience is Twitter DMs are probably the best first port of call after
mhm.
an introduction from someone else. So I think that's probably going to be I think the key drivers are going to be converting either attendees on the day or attendees post the event into customers, and then networking, ideally via referrals, into other event organizers. And I think one of the great things about the Web3 space is people are really, really interested in helping each other. Like, if you reach out to someone to like talk to them about an idea, like, I reckon you don't know how many X more likely to get feedback. So I think there's also a play in here when we start trying to figure out how to build this for organizers, is that we use the user research process in order to get our first customers. So we speak to some event organizers and be like, hey, how do we make this work for you? And build that relationship as part of, have them as part of the story of building the product, and like inform its roadmap. And then hopefully if we build a good relationship and do a good job and build what they want, then they can become the first customers as well.
Yeah, it's killer.
And I think
Nice.
it's a missed opportunity for lots of projects, particularly in Web3.
Yeah, it's a good call. All right, cool. So let's turn to brass tacks. What are you selling?
Um, what are we selling? So, like, we definitely want this to be an open source package first. Like, it's a public good. We want anyone to be able to use it if they have the, I can't think of the word. Doesn't sound bad, but like aptitude to be able to deploy something and run it. And we're fine with that. And I think that actually will do as good as a channel as well. Back for the last one in terms of it becoming a popular open source product. But revenue wise, some kind of SaaS model, I think, is probably the most obvious. So pay either a fee per event or a subscription fee to use the platform. And I guess that kind of opens up some fundamental product questions as well, in terms of like, are we building something more like Eventbrite where people can sign up and see a schedule of experience, or are we building a product that people on Eventbrite might use to run their event, right? So I think we're probably doing the latter, and the most obvious business model for us is SaaS, either like one-off payment for event or subscription payments in there as well. But I like the idea that you came up with before about you mentioned something about like a royalty. If we were to do like NFT tickets, like maybe have like a royalty in there, take a cut. So if people don't have the money up front to run the event, maybe they can choose to give us a commission or a royalty on each of the ticket sales, and then also maybe on any secondary ticket sales as well, which I think is a super interesting idea. We all hate having to pay like $2,000 on a secondary market. So yeah, it would be an interesting use case.
Yeah, cool. So I mean, what I'm gathering from this is that you don't have a clear idea of how you're going to make money off this yet. Kind of got there's a realm of possibilities here.
So it's worth mentioning that because we have our first customer in Web3Con, when that runs next year, that can be our proving ground for like creating or capturing value. Well, both creating value and capturing value, but exactly how that would work is not totally sure. With Web3Con, it's likely that we might roll the platform into the sponsorship packages somehow. So like maybe if we use LivePeer, maybe LivePeer are like an infrastructure partner for the event. If we use, let's say, Polygon for minting the NFTs, maybe Polygon are like an infrastructure partner for the event, and part of their package for sponsoring that includes can go towards the team that have built the platform. But that's not a scalable model, right? It super won't scale. Like if we were trying to do that with every customer, that like the level of support we would need, I think would just make it unfeasible. We need to be able to build it once and sell it multiple times. And that kind of always brings me back to the SaaS model, either one-off or subscription payment.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, I mean, good point about Web3Con being a proving ground. Like, just state your assumptions or your hypotheses and, try to set it up as an experiment so you can get some data on what people are willing to pay for.
Mm-hmm. Can you think of any other revenue models that like aren't so super obvious? SaaS seems like the easy way out, right? But everything's a SaaS these days, so it's I don't know if there's anything more Web3 native that we could potentially consider. I'm not too sure.
I guess there's also maybe a vendor model, like an affiliate model possibility here, where all the other things that people need to host events besides just the platform, maybe the same way you're doing with perks, like you have cultivated those relationships, and if people that are using your product also use their products, maybe you get a cut of that as well.
So like let's say we use we are planning to use LivePeer for streaming. Like if the platform's bringing revenue to the LivePeer network, like maybe there's some kind of deal we can strike there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think
analytic. Okay, we got some ideas in the chat. This is great. Wikist also allowing offline conferences to operate smoother with their online experiences, making it easier to connect IRL events with blockchain. That's interesting. And then Naomi's got some cool ideas. Analytics of events, like a dashboard that displays room talks that got the most viewers, how much they stayed, if they posted reactions, comments. Naomi's giving away her own business ideas.
Thanks, Naomi.
Cool.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. That feels like a massive value add as well. There's a really cool feature that LivePeer have got in their roadmap where they will be able to give you a report on exactly what wallet was connected to which stream for how long. So you can do probably some crazy, interesting value add there. I wonder, I wish Naomi could speak. I wonder if she would see that as like a separate monetization pathway, like the analytics specifically, or as like an addition to the product offering itself that will give it more value. Maybe she drops back in the comments.
Yeah, we'll maybe just pause and see. All right, she's in DD. You can catch up later.
Get me up, mate.
Nice. Cool. Thanks, Sammy. All right, we'll go to costs now, and we gotta start speed running here. We're gonna run out of time, but we're going in my opinion order of priority. So I think we covered the meatiest topics already. But what are your costs?
Human capital is the big one. People's time. Engineers are expensive. They get paid well. The next one would be infrastructure. But largely speaking, until you need to do anything serious, nowadays you can get away with a lot of free stuff like the sales free package and so on. But infrastructure is probably the next biggest one. And then lastly, like business operational costs, say entity setup, any cost, like the costs around doing that aren't too expensive, but operationally running an org, doing tax returns, bookkeeping, accounting, and these kind of things, it can add up to a not insignificant ongoing cost, even quite early on. Depending on when you start, you might be able to get away with not really worrying about your accounting, but you're quickly going to need to sort it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, don't spend too much time on that until you have revenue to count. How will you, key metrics, how will you know if you've been successful?
So that's a super good question that we're just thinking about for a live peer grant application. So number of attendees would be one, and I'll try and rattle through them quickly. Number of new wallets created, I think, would be another one. So like how many people have we onboarded into the space? Watch time for the video streams. And yeah, I guess I'm muddling in my head at the moment what the goals for our product might be and what the goals for the event organizer might be, right? So for ours, the primary metric would be how many events do we get run on the platform? And then a secondary metric to that would be how many, all these other things that I just mentioned that were specific to events.
Yeah, I was going to push you on that. You're talking about your customers' key metrics, but not yours.
So yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. So for us, that is it. It's like how many events can we get run on this platform, and then maybe like an indicator for that is how many attendees are these events getting.
Yeah, I mean, their success is your success, but you got to get them in the door first.
Exactly. Yeah. So like if we can't get events on, then the platform's not really worth anything.
Yeah. All right. Differentiators. First, we'll talk about what differentiates your solution from anything else that's in the market.
So I think that the differentiator for us will be the focus on user experience. So making sure that we create a user experience that doesn't have the same problems that a lot of Web3 user experiences have at the moment around really crap at onboarding new people. And the other thing I didn't mention earlier was even when people use Web3 features in their experiences, it often they have to go outside of that experience in order to do the Web3 thing and then come back, right? So even if you're getting a POAP for an event, you've got to go to POAP and get it. Or if you're so just try the key differentiator for us will be trying to bring all of that into the experience in a really smooth way. So people, in theory, it will feel like they're doing like OAuth login with like Google, Facebook, or whatever, sign in. But layer on top value that those features provide.
Yeah. Right on. What about your team?
Yeah. The team are all experienced Web3 builders, which is one thing. We have a guy called Smakush who came up with this idea, who's actually built an MVP of this like a year ago. It's like a simplified version of it. He's also deployed this as a freelancer for other people to run events in like a simplified version of it. So we have experience of doing this already, would be one. I think the next big one is because we're in Developer DAO, and we'll be working with the guys that do Web3Com, guys and girls that do Web3Com. We're really uniquely positioned to be able to dog food it straight away. and have a customer, have a user, and benefit, hopefully, touch wood, from like the existing network effects that we have just from coming out of Developer DAO, and having that first customer where we can launch with them.
Yeah. So you already have a customer.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Nice. Does the Developer DAO angle help with, I guess you said the team are all experienced Web3 builders.
Mm-hmm.
Does it help you at all from like a cost perspective that that you don't, maybe you don't have to like go out there and I don't know. Do you have to hire people, or are people like willing to help out because it's like Developer DAO vibes?
So it's a really good question. I think there's kind of two layers to it, right? So we have access to builders and having access to builders is like a huge challenge that companies spend millions of dollars a year on, right? So we're really lucky. There's a guy in DAO called Gordo who's trying to build like an agency model in the DAO and like really coordinate like folks that are interested in doing kind of investing their time for money, but also investing their time to build things over the long term. So we've got this access to this network of builders that other people don't have such easy access to, and they might have to pay to find those people through job adverts or running events or whatever to attract them. So I think that's a really big benefit for us that's definitely worth highlighting.
Nice. So I mean, they're not going to work for free, but you don't have to pay to find them.
Yeah, exactly. And like the people that are there we're all value aligned. So it's more likely for us that we can find other people that might be prepared to work for free or a reduced rate early on in order to benefit in the upside later. Whereas finding co-founders normally is like a huge challenge. If you have an idea and you don't already have people around you who are like part of that idea, then finding those people I think is probably very difficult.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Real quick, got 3 minutes.
Let's go.
How does this fit with you personally? Like, why would you want to spend weeks, months, years of your life on this?
Awesome question, mate. So more and more and more, like the need to decentralize things is just becoming so obvious. Like it's just insane. Over the last few weeks, everything we've seen, like increasing adoption of these tools and changing the narrative and getting people seeing the benefits of these tools is just incredibly important. So anything that we can do collectively, individually to push that forward, I think everyone should be doing. I think the second point is I love Developer DAO. I've invested quite a lot of my life over the last year, well, most of my life over the last year or so in making it successful. And I think getting successful projects out of the DAO and then supporting like other groups like Web3Con to be successful is really important to me. I think the more that we can show what can be done with projects like this, like the more people will see that and then feel confident to do it themselves, which I think is potentially huge for like encouraging people to take on those opportunities. And then I think the last one is I find product a really interesting problem, and I really like trying to create as much value with as least effort as possible. So the way that we're building it on top of other people's innovations and then stitching together other people's innovations to create like an experience without having to like do all of this stuff ourselves. It's like the classic engineer's paradigm. Like you start building this hugely complex thing before you've created any value. So the fact that we can do that and work with different partners in the space and help and bring all of these tools together and it benefits everyone and we're not over engineering the problem, just like that as a thesis for for creating something, to me, I think is like core to how I think, and I find very enjoyable.
Lovely. That's awesome, man. It does seem like a good fit based on your work, your passion, your background, kind of your vision for Web3 while you're here. I'm sold. Cool. All right. So we didn't get to elevator pitch. You're off the hook there because we're out of time. But we'll have a workshop in 2 weeks on elevator pitches. So we'll need to have you back for that.
Can I Web3 events for everyone?
But
we'll leave it back next week.
Web3 events for everyone. Awesome, dude. All right. Well, the canvas looks great. We covered a lot of ground. It was a fun conversation. Hopefully people watching this, hopefully it inspired you. We know that you've got an idea. There's something that you want to build. We want to help you in Developer DAO. We want to workshop it with you. We want to help you raise money. We also want to help you plan sustainability for your business and for yourself. So I'm going to kick it back to the slides and just encourage you to join our office hours, 2 p.m. UTC, 9 a.m. Eastern time every Monday and Friday in Voice Chat 1. Come on in. We can do with you and your projects what we did with Kemp and the Web3 Virtual Event Starter Kit. Workshop in that name. Well, I'd love to see you there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us today. It was a lot of fun. See you guys later.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks, Victor. Bye.